Hello, my name is Michael Rodriguez, and I'm an EGS graduate student here at the University of Florida. I originally graduated my bachelor's degree in civil engineering, where I specified in structural engineering. I'm also an intern at Walt Disney World, where I'm involved in the safety department. Today I'm going to be talking about the ethics case regarding structural engineer William Lemessurier and the design and implementation of the 59-story tower of Citicorp. New York City, one of the largest cities in the world. With a population of 8.4 million, this city is home to many people and many large businesses. It is known for being towered by large buildings and skyscrapers. Since there's so many people and so many buildings, companies try to differentiate themselves from others by using unique and creative architecture for their skyscrapers. However, this puts complexity into design and into construction, especially with a limited amount of resources and money. This may mean that any slight flaw in design can be disastrous. And as we know from the unfortunate events that occurred on September 11th, building failures have extreme consequences and affects the lives of so many people, especially in this large city like New York. The Citicorp Center, the large unique building in this picture, faces a dilemma in creative design flaw and was faced with its importance of balancing professional and legal responsibilities with ethical obligations. The story demonstrates a company and structural engineer's ethical choice between safety and cost. It shows that all decisions made by design professionals must be made with safety in mind. Now I'm going to conduct an overview of this ethical case, including a summary of the case details and the key individuals and organizations vital to this case. Next, I will explain the details of the key technical and ethical issues and decisions involved. Finally, I will explain the outcomes from the case and the positive learning points. We can use these learning points to ensure that we become successful and ethical leaders. Citicorp is an American banking and financial services corporation now known as Citigroup. They spent 5 years and approximately $40 million to purchase a block in New York City in 1977. They designed a tall and recognizable skyscraper for their headquarters in Manhattan and hired the structural engineer, William Lemessurier, to do the job. To obtain the land, the Citicorp made an agreement with the previous landowners and needed to build a church on the same corner of the block with no connection to the Citicorp building. This included not having columns passing through the church. William Lemessurier helped design this 915-foot building with a base of 4 giant columns that are centered on each of the building's sides, which is not like most buildings that have columns at the corners. These columns would be designed to be 114 feet tall and would support this 59-story tower and end up being the 7th tallest building in the world at this time in 1977. William Lemessurier, who was well known and accredited structural engineer, created a design feat with the innovative use of the columns. However, this design could have been the cause of a large catastrophe. There was a fatal design flaw with the building after construction. A student had actually discovered a potential flaw in William, and William investigated this issue to realize the error of design and construction. However, the building was already made and had cost Citigroup already approximately $195 million and 25,000 tons of steel. As I was saying earlier, the fatal error was first discovered by an undergraduate student who was writing a paper about the building. They discovered that the quartering winds produced significantly higher stresses than those produced by winds hitting just one face of the building. This column design was different than a typical building, where the wind perpendicular to one face of the building is the worst case scenario. William had initially ignored his proposal since he thought that the quartering winds do not produce as much stress on the building as the perpendicular winds, and was not the factor that controlled the design due to his full penetration welds he designed. But during the Citicorp Center project, the steel contractor, Bethlehem Steel, had proposed to use bolts instead of welds. The design team accepted the substitution and provided the design forces for the bolt connection, which the other designers reviewed and approved. William knew about the substitution, but was not worried about it at first. This was a key leadership failure to initially ignore the issues and not review the changes to design. After deciding to further investigate the quartering wind loads on the bolted connection, he discovered that diagonal braces had not been treated as columns, as he had originally believed, but were treated as trusses. Therefore, the loads were improperly calculated, and there was an increase in stress by the quartering winds by 40%. This gave evidence to a potential building failure to a 70-mile-per-hour windstorm, which had a likelihood of occurring in New York City every 16 years. William evaluated his predicament and thought that closing this problem could lead to lawsuits, bankruptcy, or possibly ending his career. But he set those thoughts aside to overcome a social obligation and came up with a plan to fix the connections. Working with others, he proposed a recolonization plan to Citigroup that would require welding 2-inch thick by 6 feet long gusset plates to more than 200 bolted connections. This approximately was going to cost $4.3 million. Citigroup surprisingly was more than willing to cooperate after the findings, provided resources and assets to get the problem fixed. They also notified the Disaster Services for New York City and the American Red Cross. They actually estimated that 200,000 people would have died if building failure occurred, and so the design and evacuation plan afterwards. The building was safely refortified and the bolts were welded successfully. Disaster was avoided and the building still stands today. It was actually estimated to have a construction cost over $8 million extra, which was all funded by Citicorp. William was actually praised for his honesty and how he handled the situation. Instead of ignoring it, he spoke up and aimed to fix the problem that he created. Even though there were leadership failures on William's point, he overall decided to consider his ethical obligation as utmost importance. Citigroup was also praised for ensuring ethical obligation by providing the funds and helping them fix the problem instead of fighting the case. The design of the Citicorp Center in New York City provides an excellent ethical case study. The story demonstrates the need for proper communication, delegation, and supervision during the design and construction processes, and it emphasizes the importance of ethical obligation. We can all learn to always listen to others, to question one's own decision, review changes to design, and not be afraid to speak up. Like this story represents, it could be the difference between a deadly catastrophe and a close call. Thank you for your time.